So I wasn't aware of this until son of Hamas, Mossab Hassan Youssef, tweeted this. But Mossab, who is a great supporter of Israel and the son of a Hamas co-founder, Hassan Youssef, he claims in a Twitter post that he was actually involved in the invention of the Hamas popular flag, which is shocking to me. He said, "Who invented the Hamas's popular flag? I did when I was just 15 years old, years after Hamas was established. Inspired by the Saudi Arabian flag, I printed the first 100 green flags in East Jerusalem with my own savings. My biological father, Sheikh Hassan Youssef, didn't like the idea and asked me to burn them. He argued that all flags were a form of separation from the divine. But I didn't listen to him and kept printing and distributing the green flag until it became popular. Notice the difference between the first green flag and Hamas's original symbol, and the difference between both and the original Muslim Brotherhood flag. I am the creator and I am the destroyer." Fascinating. I wasn't aware of this. And it's interesting. It's amazing, really, his journey that he's had, going from someone that was so anti-Israel, that grew up in the hotbed, in the heart of anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, radical Islamist worldview, genocidal worldview against the Jews. And now he's had a radical transformation and seeks to do what he can to wipe out Hamas and the ideology of Hamas from the world. But what's, I think, critical here to realize is that we see here, through the adoption of these flags and what inspires them, is that it never was about a Palestinian national cause. They're getting their inspiration from Saudi Arabia and the Quran and Islamist supersessionism and dominance. It was about Arab domination. It was about the Dar al-Islam, that the Islamic conquerors of the 7th century, once they conquered a territory, it can't go back into non-Muslim control, dhimmi control. The Jews are dhimmi, second-class citizens in their eyes. They just want greater Arab unity. It's not about a nationalist cause. The whole concept of a Palestinian Arab was created in the late 1960s after their exterminationist wars didn't seem to work, and they created this new identity simply as a cynical ploy to get rid of Israel. But they always considered themselves Arabs and wanted a greater Arab unity and dominance. They saw themselves as part of southern Syria, happy to be part of an Islamic empire, other nation, whatever it would be. It was just about not having the shame, the dishonor of a Jewish people re-establishing their ancient God-given homeland. And why is it so difficult for them to accept it? Because it actually challenges the very heart of their whole theological, philosophical worldview. If you believe that Islam teaches that God has forsaken the Jews and his new chosen people are the followers of Islam, and the Jews were condemned to wander the earth, exiled for their sins, displaced and forsaken by God, then what does it mean that they re-establish their homeland? Well, option one is God never forsook the Jews, and their chosen mission remains, and God doesn't tear up his eternal contracts. The clue's in the word eternal and covenant. The covenant is forever. And if God can just tear up his contracts on a whim, then they're worth about as much as the paper that they're written on. But either there's that God is showing divine favor to the Jews and he always had a plan for them, and it's a beautiful moment of divine justice and redemption, or this is God testing us and we have to eliminate this evil state. There's your options. And that was what's been motivating them from the start. And so, given that God calls himself the God of Israel, and he will not forsake the Jews, and he always kept his promises to the Jews to keep them and sustain them and bring them back to their homeland, what's going to need to happen is those who have been hostile to Israel in the Arab world and beyond are going to need to have an ideological maturing. That's all that's going to need to happen, so they can come to terms with the fact that the Jewish people are God's chosen people, chosen for a mission. We didn't do the choosing, he did the choosing, and he chose the Jewish people for a mission to share with the entire world what his plan was and his purpose is for every single human being, and how they can serve him in partnering with him in creating a godly world. So they just need to grow up, basically. That's the ultimate solution. And that is what ultimately is going to happen. And if you think I'm some kind of a dreamer, well, for 2,000 years, the Jewish people considered the Christian world to be a very hostile world for them. And now we see many, many Christians and Jews coming together in solidarity, and Christians showing great love and support for the Jewish state. Not all, but many. And when Jews hear the words Christian, they don't shudder in the same way that they might have done centuries ago in Europe. And so too in the future, the same will be said of much of the Arab world, and even the Arabs living in Israel's direct vicinity. They're going to have an ideological shift, and they're going to use all their religious zeal and energy towards serving God in the proper and holy way. So the sooner we can grow up from the lies and accept the truth and come to terms with everyone's specific and unique role, the better. And the precedent is clearly set out in the Torah. Esau and Jacob reconcile at the end of their lives. Esau, who represents the Christian Western civilization, and Jacob, who represents the Jewish people. And so too we see Ishmael, who is really the forefather of the Arabs and the Islamic world. He reconciles, he does teshuvah, he returns, he repents. And so we expect the same thing to happen there too. All the nations of the world will come to terms with one another, will make peace with one another, and will all serve God in the way that the God of Israel wants.
Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.